Hey, this is Justin Botier, CEO of Calyx CPA. This is our once a year, end of year video that I provide to all of our clients to help you prepare for the end of year, mainly reminding you to do some of the compliance requirements that you're not paying us to do. For example, 1099s, 8300s, FBAR, these various miscellaneous compliance reports that you need to do. You probably have payroll as well, but that should be handled by your payroll provider. So these are those miscellaneous things that I help people remember to do once a year. The main thing is, if we're not doing the bookkeeping for you, and you don't have a professional bookkeeper that's doing this for you, you need to remember to file 1099s. That's end of year reporting number one. They're due at the end of January. There are various types of 1099s. There are miscellaneous, 1099 miscellaneous, 1099 NEC, dividends, interest, you name it, there's a 990 for it. But the one that I'm going to talk about most is the 1099 NEC, which formerly was also reported on the 1099 miscellaneous until they separated the two. First, real briefly, I'll talk about 1099 miscellaneous, who is responsible for reporting those. So if you pay someone, then you need to file a 1099 for them. For example, if your business is paying rent, then you need to get what's called a W-9. All right. You can get this online. I'm going to send out a link to our whole database so that people can grab this. You need to send that to your landlord and then have your landlord complete it and send it back to you. And amongst your 1099s, you're going to file what's called a 1099 MISC and put the total amount of rent that you paid on that 1099. The way I recommend you do that is through a software called Track 1099. That used to be, now it was bought by Avalara, but you can do it through that website, and it seems to be still a really good resource for filing 1099s. Now, other miscellaneous types of things are royalties, attorney fees. There are all sorts of different things that you might get or have to issue a 1099 for. But you also need to take into consideration interest. If you're paying somebody interest for a loan that's not necessarily like an institutional bank, then you need to also do what's called the 1099 INT. So again, you would need to send off the W-9 form and then receive that. And then you would use that to complete a 1099 using a system similar to this. So QuickBooks Online what also is a resource. But this is this formally tracked 1099 is the one that we like to use, even though we use QuickBooks too. Then also, if you're a corporation and you've paid your shareholders dividends, then you would also need to do a 1099 DIV, which is yet another 1099. But the one that's most commonly used is the 1099 NEC, and that is because what a 1099 NEC is for is non-employee contributions, or compensation, non-employee compensation. So that's if you've paid somebody $600 or more, then you are required to get a W-9 from them and then issue a 1099 NEC to them, and then they're required to use that to file their tax return. And they'll have to deal with their own taxes and whatnot, self-employment taxes. And so the people who you are required to file these for are people who are doing personal services. So janitorial, landscaping, repair, contracting, like even coaching. If you're subcontracting work that your business is getting paid for, and then you're paying them as a 1099 contractor, trimming, facilitation, those types of things. Personal services. You would not need to fill one out for people who are selling you something, supplies and materials. You don't need to file one for that. But you do need to at least get a W-9. Some people will have business entities that make them exempt. You don't need to file return 1099s for exempt organizations like nonprofits. But the W-9 the information you receive from the W-9 will give you what you need in order to know whether or not you need to issue a 1099 NEC. You need to, what I would ordinarily do is print out a list of vendors and vendor payments that you've paid out throughout the year. You can immediately cross off anybody who you're buying product from, or like big corporations, of course, you're not going to need to give Les Schwab, who you use for your tires services, a 1099. This is for individuals, sole proprietorships, single member owner, S corporations, and those kinds of things. People who you've used for personal services. Again, get W-9s. Sometimes they won't give you all the information you need to give them a 1099. The IRS will allow you to get away with not having a completed 1099 with accurate information. Sometimes people refuse to give you the information depending on what they're doing and the expectations that you've presented to them. But the IRS will not allow you to get away with that long. You need to not continue to employ them if they're not going to be willing to provide you the information to issue a 1099. So keep that in mind when you're hiring people as independent contractors and what for miscellaneous services. Okay, so that's the 1099 spiel. The other end of year reporting that you might want to consider is if you have foreign bank accounts, and I'm not sure about like cryptocurrency at this time, but sometimes people have foreign accounts in India or Europe or in the Cayman Islands or wherever. And the IRS expects you to fill out what's called the FBAR through an organization called what I call FinCEN. And that's required if you have over accounts with money over $10,000 in it. So you're not necessarily required to do it if your accounts are lower than that. I should probably confirm that, but so that's just something to keep in mind. And the way you can do that is by filing on this website, BSA E-Filing System, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, what I call FinCEN, and other people do too. And so this is where you would sign up to be an e-filer. And so register down here, click here to create a new BSA e-filing account. Or you don't have to do that, and you can just click here to file FinCEN report 114 FBAR. So that's if you have offshore accounts and you need to report to the IRS that you have those offshore accounts. And then they're pretty steep penalties. They've been really cracking down on this area over the last several years. The other thing to remember to file are the 8300 reports. Now, these are typically required 45 days within the day the transactions have been made, but essentially it's reporting cash payments over 10,000 received in a trade or business. So if somebody pays you $10,000 in cash, then you're required to file the report. So I think that's like a little bit different than uh, a little bit different than the 1099s, where you file the 1099s for the vendors that you paid. This is the people who received $10,000 worth of cash or more need to file these reports for the and collect the information from the vendors that delivered you the funds. It's crazy. Now, this is for a single transaction, so it's $10,000 for over transaction. So it really applies to the cannabis industry. Less and less as people are getting bank accounts and whatnot, but for years, the 8300s were prolific. If you're in a state that you don't have banking, you probably are subject to this. Hemp businesses, hemp businesses, people dealing with cash. So if you receive $10,000 worth of cash, you need to get a lot of information: identity of individual from whom the cash was received, person on whose behalf this transaction was conducted, and it wants everything: social security, date of birth. I think it's a violation, really, like to ask for this information. Nevertheless, do what you can, file a couple of them just so that you have them. Do what you can to comply. That's what I would say. Business that received the cash, so that's your information. Yeah, and you have to do it within 45 days of receiving the cash. So what I recommend is registering with the BSA, and then signing up for assist so that you can just move these along. So if you get a lot of them, you can just go ahead and file them as you receive them. I have never seen anybody taken down or penalized for not having them, but it is something that was happening in the early days of cannabis, and it's just something that if somebody wants to get you, they probably could. They probably could do that. So, okay. So that's that. Those are the end of your reporting compliance requirements. So end of year reminders would be to get odometer readings for your vehicles, to provide odometer readings to make, if you're tracking and you're deducting your auto expenses, you need to have a mileage log. And a lot of times people don't have mileage logs, so they have to recreate them. And one way to do that is make sure that you at least have a starting and ending odometer reading. And then, home office expenses, you want to check your inventory. If you're like, say, a dispensary, you're going to want to run an inventory report out of your POS system. If you're a farm, you're going to want to track how much product was harvested, how much product you have on hand. Harvested for the year 2025. What did you have on hand as of December 31st, 2025? Cash, you want to know what your cash balance was. 12/31/2025. What's your cash balance? Write it down. Then over January into February, you're going to get 1098s, mortgage interest documents. You're going to get W-2s. You're going to get 1099s. You want to collect all those documents. Oh, you're going to get 1099s specifically, like 1098s, brokerage company, like amortization schedule information for loans. Collect bank statements, December 31st, 2025, whatever December bank statement that has your cash in the bank balances, your loan balances. Those are the things that your tax accountants want, even if it's not us. But those are the things that we want. All right, that's it. Thank you very much and good luck, and look forward to working with you this upcoming tax season.